was in every pocket of my clothes. Well, you dat-gum government.
Dadgum government. Hey, good morning, folks. Good morning, Muskegon. This is EyeOnMuskegon, and I'm Jim Riley, your host for this community conversation. And I'm here in Muskegon's Clear Channel Studios, the snowy studios today, with my friend and engineer, Brian Thomas. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
And back again, helping us out, sort of a deja vu all over again from last week, Sean Mullally.
Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Sean. And also with us, one of the people mentioned in I think, kind of a somewhat incendiary article in M Live yesterday, our old friend, Professor Andy Fink.
Good morning.
And Andy's got a new hat on. That's the crux of this article is that the Muskegon County Republican Party has a new chairman, has some new officers, and according to a past chairman of the Muskegon County Republican Party and a current Republican County Commissioner, he felt comfortable enough to speak to the media and says that the current crowd, headed by you, I guess, Andy, doesn't represent the mainstream Republican thought. And grammar aside, it's kind of a shot across, actually maybe right into the back rather than a bow. But we're going to talk about the Republican Party in general, nationally, and we're going to talk about it locally because we do have an entirely new group. And apparently some folks, at least if Bob Skolnick is not alone, are not all thrilled with that particular direction. But we'll be back. We're going to jump on that in a little bit. But one thing I wanted to kind of start off with was an article that I read, and it's titled, "Half the Facts You Know Are Probably Wrong." And I'm kind of tying this into what perhaps the Republican Party is all about here, and hopefully we will clear that up. But apparently people, of course, these days are studying everything, but some group went out and looked at all the information. We know that science is growing, and information and things that we know, all of us know in our hearts and in our minds, remain the same. But in fact, everything that we know at some point may very well not be true anymore. A classic example would be, quickly, what are the top 10 largest cities in the United States? And if you're of my age or Andy's age, one of the ones that you might have initially thought of was Detroit or some of the large cities. And in fact, that all changes. Well, what they found out was that the average length of time that a fact remains a fact, then this is the average, is about 45 years. And then a scientific fact. And then obviously not historical
That's a pretty
events.
broad category.
Well, it is. And I'll just give you an example that maybe makes the point here. It says, in 2011, a disquieting study in the journal Nature reported that a team of researchers over 10 years was able to reproduce the results of only 6 out of 53 landmark papers on some cancer research. Only 6 of these 53 landmark, and these were considered landmark papers. So we're constantly seeing headlines. Remember, again, over the last so many years, we've been told drinking coffee, causes cancer, can kill you. Not
this
drinking
week it's
coffee.
safe.
Pardon me?
This week coffee is safe.
This week it's safe, and exactly. So we see these headlines, and there was an interesting headline which I just saw this morning. Top health policy doc says city's war on salt is misguided. And this is interestingly, New York City has its own health czar. There we go. But he said, quote, in talking about the city's mayor, who's got a bit of a war on all sorts of things that we like, but one of those is salt. He said, quote, "We cannot extrapolate that lowering sodium consumption would reduce cardiovascular risk or premature death." And that's actually something that's been out now for about the last 6 months. But again, most people haven't heard that. That's something that everybody knows, that high salt it causes heart problems. And in fact, that doesn't appear to be correct. So we're one of the things we try to do on this show is to right some of these things that we all know are true, but in fact, in many cases may not be true. So that'll kind of be the theme of what we're going to talk about today. Don't forget, we are a call-in show. We do want to talk to you, want to get you on the radio. And our number, 231-830-3109. So give us a call if you want to jump in on anything. We don't have a phone-in guest today, so you've got about an hour and a half almost to let your voice be heard. Couple of little things I wanted to touch on. One of my co-hosts, Tammy Derwin, who was here not too long ago, she has an excellent blog. It's libertyReview76.blogspot.com. And all you need to do is to go to MuskegonPundit.com, and up in the search area you can put in Liberty Review, and it pops right up. But she has really some excellent columns, and she has her own blog now, and I really do strongly recommend you take a peek at her writings. If you're interested in the jail, there's a group out here that's really done a pretty good job right here in Muskegon County in advocating and articulating their opposition to this $35 million plus I think, debacle at this point. But anyway, but they've got a great website also, and it's called Derail the Jail. I think you might be able to find it if you just Googled it, but if you go to Muskegon Pundit, you can find that also. But there's another one that I keep forgetting to mention, and most of us here are on Facebook, have a Facebook account. Well, Muskegon County-Board is the Facebook site for those people who are interested in the Muskegon County governance. And all sorts of, it's got well over 1,000 people have friended it, and all sorts of information on, in many cases, insiders' comments about what's going on at the Muskegon County board level. And next week, let's see, well, actually this week, on Thursday, what was that, the 3rd or the 4th, will be the first Muskegon County Board of Commissioners meeting. And the county commissioners will be sworn in. My understanding, and it's probably best to double-check this, but it's really kind of it's an interesting event. Everybody's all gussied up. They've all got suits on. They take the official photograph. But at this point, it is supposed to be on the 4th floor at 3 o'clock, with then their first official meeting being at 3:30. And then there's going to be some type of a reception for the public also. All of these are open to the public. I cannot more strongly recommend public showing up and letting these, in particular, we have now 3 of the 9 will be new commissioners, letting them know that we understand and support them in their mission to make Muskegon County a better county, but they are our representatives, and they do answer to us.
And there's going to be more room for the public now. From what I understand, there's going to be 2 extra chairs up for grabs in the room.
Yeah.
You're not going to need them at the front table anymore.
That's true. That's a great point. We had 11 county commissioners, and now there will be 9. I was kind of thinking that maybe they'd move me to one of those empty chairs as a member of the media, but perhaps not.
And how many times have you gone there when there was standing room only?
Actually, in the last few months, maybe 6 or 7 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. But typically, it's quite empty. It's me and a few folks that would like a check from the county commissioners, which they're so want to offer and sign up. But another one of the links, you can go back to MuskegonPundit.com, which is where I do most of my show prep. But there is a link, and it's I think right now it's right up at the top, but you can search for it within there if it sinks down. But it is called Call 'Em, They Work for You. It's the list of all of the new county commissioners with their direct phone lines, not in the county, but at home. They're either cell numbers or home numbers. This has all been published by the county clerk. So if you're interested again, folks, they will do with your money and your borrowing and your county what people tell them to do. And if the only people whispering in their ears are the union bosses, the folks who want monies for this boondoggle or that boondoggle, they will answer them. If you're going to be quiet and not contact your county commissioner, then be prepared to pay the price. And sadly, we are paying the price here in Muskegon County, much more so than most of the other counties in the state of Michigan. Certainly Wayne County, Genesee County are arm in arm with Muskegon County in their successes, and I think I'd prefer that we looked more to the south into Ottawa County or the east in Oakland County as opposed to Genesee and Wayne. But that's the way it is now. We got a new beginning coming up in a few days. A couple of quotes that I'd like to touch base on. One. And again, this I think brings back one of the things that so many people in this country misunderstand. And this is a quote by James Monroe, one of the founders of our country, one of the, I would imagine, maybe you can help me here on this one, Professor. Was Monroe involved in writing the Constitution? I imagine he was. But anyway, his comment was, the right of self-defense never ceases. It is among the most sacred and alike necessary to nations and to individuals. So that the Second Amendment wasn't purely to form militias to fight the English. It was, in fact, self-defense. And certainly in today's world, we have some very, very serious self-defense situations, and I guess it used to be the chant "We're number one" used to be something to be proud of, and it still is in many cases. But in Michigan, we are number one and number two. And before you celebrate, that is in the most dangerous cities in America in terms of murder. Detroit, number one, good for them, and Flint. So. That's the most recent numbers, but there's some other things about Second Amendment that have just come up and kind of, I'll just run through them quickly, but they caught my attention. In New York, you may have read that a second person has been pushed off the subway platform into the path of the subway and murdered. And
ban subways.
Well, exactly. Subways don't kill people. People kill people, or if you want to take the gun control view, people don't kill people. Subways, in fact, kill people. So perhaps if the subways were going more slowly, or they had cow catchers. Remember the days of cow catchers on the front of trains?
Maybe not so many cars per train.
Maybe not so many cars. Whatever. But the facts are, but the mayor of New York counseled, let's not get crazy about this. He said, let's keep these deaths in perspective, which I think we would all agree with. But he doesn't necessarily keep, apparently, salt in perspective, nor does he, as he is surrounded by his armed guards, keep the right of self-defense in perspective when you have a mass murder here. But a couple of other things that have happened, and this caught, these are things just within the last week or so. Huron Township, because they have run out of money, has cut their police department almost in half. So if you live in Huron Township and you are interested in being protected from the bad guys, currently the average police response in a call is about 8 minutes. It was 20 minutes, I understand, in Connecticut. In 8 minutes, a lot of bad stuff can happen, but in Huron County, chances are it's going to be longer than 8 minutes. Chicago, who, interestingly enough, isn't in the top one or two, at least murder cities in terms of per capita, but they did have something to be at least to note. They had their first 500 homicides year. Now, of course, it's gone up, but since this was printed, it's probably a few more now. But in Chicago, the city of our president of the United States, who is very focused on other things, apparently was not around to celebrate that particular milestone. There are reasons, perhaps, why you would want to be able to defend yourself, and there were two items that were in the M Live just this past week. Headline: Muskegon store owner displays shotgun, scares off would-be robber. Self-defense. Kalamazoo man used a kitchen knife to kill his wife and himself, police say. So again, if we can get rid of the subways and the knives, needless to say, the world will be a safer place. But there was another one, and this is in the New York Post this morning. Quote, the city streets are teeming with thousands of mentally ill homeless people capable of psychotic acts and random violence if left untreated. As many as 11,000, this is the city of New York, as many as 11,000 of the city's 33,000 homeless adults have some form of mental illness.
Oh, wait a minute, Jim, though. You can't equate mental illness with risk to the general public.
Well, according to the executive director of the Mental Illness Policy Organization, thank you for the easy jump here, he said, when untreated, they're capable of horrific acts. The danger is that they're so sick that they don't know they're sick, and their brain is incapable of regulating their own behavior. My brother, who was a schizophrenic, he took his own life in a state mental facility, got involved in many fights, crazy things, which is what crazy people do. And thankfully, he never injured other people, at least to any great extent. But if we're going to talk about guns, especially if that's going to be the loudest voice out there, we're probably not going to be talking about crazy people and mentally ill people and people who, in fact, need our help. And again, there seems to be one political party that is interested in pushing that side of the conversation.
Well, the statistics that you point out there draw a very grim picture of the world and make it sound like a very scary place, almost to the point where I don't want to leave my house in the morning when I think about that. But then I remember that my house is probably the most dangerous place of all statistically. It's not as exciting of a story, but you are much more likely to die in your own bathtub or falling down your basement stairs than you are to be killed in a violent crime.
Well, absolutely, but you spend a lot more time in your home than you do on a subway platform or walking around the city streets of New York. But that's a good point. Actually, overall, crime has come down significantly in the last few decades. And again, gun ownership has gone up significantly in the last few decades. And so we got to take a break. We will come back. And I got a couple of other things to touch before we get deep into what's up with that Republican Party here in Muskegon County. So we will be right back, folks.
Heads up. Radio Juniper is a new one-hour show every Wednesday at 9 a.m. on News Talk 1090 WKBZ. I think you'll like it, but Wednesday at 9 a.m. is when you watch People's Court. So, here's the solution. Turn the sound down on People's Court and turn the volume up on Radio Juniper. They sync together better than Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard of Oz. It's spooky. Google that reference if you need to, and I'll see you Wednesday on News Talk 1090 WKBZ.
The final week of Benton Chevrolet Cadillac GMC's model year-end clearance sale is here. GM has authorized Benton to mark down prices even lower for the final days of 2012. Shop over 1,000 vehicles in Benton's massive 20-acre motor mall. Benton has authorized their staff to pay you even more for your trade for the final weeks of 2012. No matter the year, make, or model, we'll pay you more for it, guaranteed. Drive a new Chevy Silverado 4x4, just $198 a month. A 2013 Chevy Equinox, just $119 a month. Or a Chevy Malibu, pick your color, just $109 a month. Or drive a Chevy Cruze for only $89 a month. Get 0% on select models for up to 72 months and discounts up to $9,000. The time to buy is right now. Prices and payments have never been this low. We're out to break all sales records, and the winner is you with the biggest savings of the entire year. Stop in and see how much money your trade is worth and how low your payment will be. It's where Michigan shops. Benton Chevrolet Cadillac GMC, Henry Street, Muskegon.
Serious about your growing operation? See Green Lantern H2O in Muskegon. They are the only hydroponic and organic growing supply outlet with a certified horticulturist and nurseryman on staff. Stop by today and let the ladies help you grow big. Open 7 days a week. See them today on Laketon Avenue and US 31 across from Checkers. Green Lantern H2O.
Jay Farner here from Quicken Loans. A great way to shape up your finances for the new year is our exclusive Yorgage. A Quicken Loans Yorgage allows you to select a term that's best for your budget, anywhere from 8 to 30 years. The rate today on an 8-year fixed Yorgage is an incredible 2.75%, APR 3.43%. Call Quicken Loans right now at 800-QUICKEN. That's 800-QUICKEN, or visit us at QuickenLoans.com.
Call for additional cost information. Other restrictions may apply. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
I am the new way to work, and I am not alone. More companies, from the startups to the large multi-location companies, are realizing that office solutions from Regis are tailor-made for their needs, whatever those needs may be. With Regis, they get to invest in their business instead of lobby art and phone systems. They get the local presence they need without the long-term lease. I am the new way to work, and I'd like you to join me. Start now and get 2 months free at regis.com/radio or call 1-800-OFFICES. That's 1-800-OFFICES.
News Talk 1090 is the talk of Muskegon.
And we're back. EyeOnMuskegon, Muskegon's #1 rated political talk radio show. Hey, on this day in history, and I'm going to go back one extra day because one of Muskegon's really, truly the largest media presence of anybody on a regular basis anyway in Muskegon County is Kyle Olson. Of course, been on the show before. Kyle is the executive director, I believe his title is, of Education Action Group. He's been on Fox News often. They do a tremendous website and blog. And they are investigating the education establishment from a variety of different levels. But Kyle and his beautiful wife, Kelly, just yesterday welcomed in a new daughter, Mila May Olson. I believe it's Mila, M-I-L-A. And
well, congratulations, Kyle.
Congratulations to the
was
two.
That 2 or 3?
Mm-hmm. I believe it might be 3. And I did post on his Facebook, if the Republicans can't win with the current population, the only answer truly is to repopulate. And I was wondering, since he's a numbers guy, that he might know how many more that he and Kelly have to have so that we can win an election. And he came up with about 3 million, which means that Kyle is likely to be a busy guy going forward. But congratulations yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. So another little Republican female who's not, I'm sure, going to grow up being fearful of the war against women, as alleged by some people. Hey, a couple of other things that did happen on this day in history. 90 years ago today, for all of those in the blue states, 1922, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics was established. And, of course, that was such a brilliant idea. Much like the Third Reich, it was expected to go on in perpetuity. It lasted about 70 years, 69 years. In 1953, to give a sense of what, if you just leave government out and let the smart guys do stuff, in 1953, the first color TV sets went on sale. Any sense of what they might have cost back then? And this is in their dollars, not ours.
$500.
$1,000.
There we go. $1,175. And remember, that's back in 1953, which I'm assuming you could have purchased a car for close to that.
Oh, and they weren't that good either.
Oh, they were awful, but they were color.
Best way to get every neighborhood kid over at your house every afternoon.
That's right. Yeah, they were fabulous for those days. But anyway, that's times have changed, thankfully. Okay, here's one for those of us Spartan folks who are thrilled with their victory yesterday. I believe U of M won also yesterday. Yesterday, a football player at a university did something that really offended the opposing coach. Any clue? Let's see. How can I? This happened at. It was the Ohio State coach who was offended. And what did the opposing player do?
This couldn't have been football because Ohio State is not in the bowl series.
No. This day in history in 1978.
Oh.
1978.
Oh, quite a bit back.
Quite a bit back.
Oh, he intercepted a pass.
He did.
And then Woody Hayes punched him out when he went out of bounds.
Exactly. Yeah. And on this day in history, nice. Ohio State University fired Woody Hayes for being so offended that somebody would dare intercept one of his passes, which says, you give a sense that perhaps that Woody was on the edge there. And one other thing here, which again, this might be the passing off of the culture, but in 1980, The Wonderful World of Disney, which all of us didn't just grow up with, or at least maybe not you, some of you guys, but certainly Andy and I did grow up with, but our younger siblings and younger children did. The Wonderful World of Disney was canceled by NBC after more than 25 years. And interestingly, it was the longest running series in primetime television history, which I believe it probably still is. If it is past, I believe the longest running one now is The Simpsons. So if you talk about a cultural comparison of those days and these days, so. Okay, let's get back now, or let's begin to have we just got a few minutes, so we'll get started, and then we'll come back after the break. But talk about this situation where we have a very, very prominent Muskegon County Republican who is apparently felt comfortable enough to communicate to the Muskegon Chronicle that he was, I would say, it didn't sound like he was very happy at all with this new group that Professor Fink is the leader of. What are your thoughts about that?
First of all, I think we need to start out with congratulations, Andy, on your new position.
Thank you.
Yes, it was well earned, and you were, interestingly, you're not some wild-eyed newbie who's just come on stream. You've been a long time member of the Muskegon County Republicans, and you were the serving vice chairman for the last 2 years.
I am wild-eyed, but I have been around the Muskegon County Republicans since I moved here.
Well, we're going to have to keep that wild-eyed thought in our minds. Just think of Andy, Professor Fink, wild-eyed and raring to go. We're going to have a little bit of news, and then we're going to come back and just grill this guy. He's right between one definitely wild-eyed person and myself, and another less so in Sean. But we've got Andy in our sights.
Oh, don't you love me sometime? Ooh.
They sang, they danced, they rocked as millions watched. And history was made in Vegas.
Turn that radio up!
The sold-out iHeartRadio Music Festival. Over 20 of music's biggest superstars. And the CW is taking you there. Taylor Swift, Pink, No Doubt. Grab a front row seat to some of the incredible performances as the CW presents the 2012 iHeartRadio Music Festival during a special 2-hour broadcast. New Year's Eve at 8/7 Central, only on the CW.
It's inside that bin on the basement shelf, stored away but not forgotten. For inside is our precious family photos and film. And yet every year, these images begin to fade and deteriorate. Someday we will do something about it. What if that day was today? At the Camera Shop, preserving your memories is what we do. From photo restoration and digitization to converting old film and video to DVD, we make your memories easy to share with everyone for generations to come. The Camera Shop, we make your memories come alive.
The Talk of Muskegon is News Talk 1090 WKBZ Muskegon and heard 24 hours a day on WOOD HD2 Muskegon.
I believe I can do anything. So when it came to learning a new language, I knew I had to do it the way I learn. No books, no memorizing or translating. I wanted to learn the same way I learned my first language, naturally. That's why I chose Rosetta Stone.
Rosetta Stone invites you to be a part of its biggest language learning event in history. Because this year, we want to help 3 million people learn a new language. That's why we're going to give you an absolutely free demo of our language immersion technology. To participate in this free nationwide event, just call 1-800-914-9572.
Si yo puedo hacerlo, usted puede hacerlo. If I can do it, you can do it.
To participate in this free nationwide event, call now for your free demo from Rosetta Stone. Call 1-800-914-9572. That's 1-800-914-9572.
Fox News Radio, I'm Sal Giangrasso. In the last-ditch discussions aimed at avoiding the fiscal cliff on New Year's Day, a very stubborn disagreement remains.
One of the big sticking points so far has been about the income threshold for tax increases, basically trying to figure out who should be classified as wealthy and who should count as middle class. President Obama has wanted $250,000 per household to count as wealthy. But Democrats now say that they're willing to let that go higher.
Fox's Peter Ducey in Washington, the other cliff component, steep spending reductions.
Half comes from defense spending, the other half from so-called discretionary spending, a wide-ranging category that includes public health, schools, and infrastructure programs. Medicare would also face a small cut, but Social Security, Medicaid, food stamps, and veterans benefits are all excluded.
That's Fox Radio's Jared Halpern in the nation's capital. Erica Menendez, accused of pushing a man to his death in front of a subway train last week, is charged with murder as a hate crime after telling authorities she hates Hindus and Muslims.
Witnesses say the suspect pushed Sanando Sen off the platform from behind and ran off. The victim's neighbor, Raymond Roy.
I never imagined something like this could happen to this kind of guy. He was really quiet and a really nice guy.
Menendez faces up to life in prison if convicted.
Fox Radio's Steve Rappaport in New York. Funeral services will be held today for Mike Ciparini, one of the 2 firefighters shot and killed on Christmas Eve in Webster, New York. Thousands gathered yesterday to mourn him and Tomas Kachoka.
It's pretty sad. These guys were doing their job, exactly what they're trained to do, and it's something that's hard to prepare for.
That's Leslie Eastwood, the former Fire chief from Cicero, New York, Ashoka's funeral set for tomorrow. And former President George H.W. Bush is out of intensive care. His condition has improved. He's being treated for a bronchitis-related cough. You're listening to Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
Here's the official News Talk 1090 WKBZ forecast. Flurries and a few snow showers expected throughout the day with a high of 29 with winds out of the southwest at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Cloudy skies tonight with gusty winds out of the southwest at 20 to 30 and steady temperatures in the upper 20s. Tomorrow mostly cloudy, still windy with a few snow showers in the afternoon and a high of 34. West winds 20 to 30. And for Tuesday, snow showers at times and a high of only 24. News Talk 1090, the talk of Muskegon.
Hey, I'm Miles Austin, and I made the switch.
It's your boy 50 Cent.
Hi, it's Joan Rivers.
Paulie D here.
And this is Wes Welker, and I made the switch too, to a better source of energy. We're always under pressure to perform.
That's when I need a boost to be my best.
Instead of those chemical-filled sports drinks, I drink SK Energy shots.
They're made with antioxidants and vitamins.
No jitters, no crash.
Just a smooth rush of energy that tastes great.
So we always feel on top of our game.
Yeah, buddy.
New SK Energy Shots. Make the switch to a better source of energy. Available at 7-Eleven, Planet Fitness, and your local retailers.
The talk of Muskegon. News Talk 1090 WKBZ.
Well, you dadgum government, you sorry so-and-sos. You got your damn hands in every pocket of my clothes. Well, you
Dadgum government. EyeOnMuskegon is maybe a little in agreement with that particular phrase. This is Jim Riley, EyeOnMuskegon's your kind of relaxed, laid-back host of the Muskegon County's #1 talk radio show with Sean. I keep thinking Sean Hannity, Sean Mullally. I did that last week. And Professor Andy Fink. And Brian Thomas, operating the board brilliantly and capable of interjecting breaks when coffee is necessary. So it's we got just a very harmonious group here this morning. But we wanted to go back to this MLive article, which was published yesterday. I don't believe it hit the newspaper itself, but where... it was somewhat congratulatory, and it was letting people know that the Muskegon County Republicans, in a totally blue, almost entirely Democrat-dominated county, have elected a new crew, which they do every 4 years, and
every 2 years, Jim.
Every 2 years, thank you. Sometimes if you look at the leadership, it doesn't appear to have changed much, but in this case, it changed. All 4 folks are brandy new. And then there was a highlighted comment by one of the past chairman of the party, Bob Skolnick, who is now, as the Chronicles article mentioned, the most senior county Republican, in that he didn't feel that this was a positive for Muskegon or for the county party. So we have with us the chairman of the county party, Andy Fink. He's not just Professor Fink, and. What were your thoughts when you read it? And is Commissioner Skolnick right that you guys are kind of out of the mainstream of Republican thought?
Well, we're the ones who showed up. Jim, you were at the convention, and when we elected our executive committee, we just had people sign up for the executive committee, and we had 20 seats, and 20 people signed up, and so they were unanimously elected.
That is true.
I don't, there certainly wasn't a Tea Party push that took place, because anybody who wanted to be on it got on it, as near as I can tell. If it's a Tea Party, then people, and I don't know that. I don't know who's in the Tea Party movement and who isn't. It's because they're the ones who showed up to work.
Well, I think it was Woody Allen, if I remember right, who said 90% of life is just showing up.
Yeah, someone said that. I think it might very well have been Woody Allen.
It really does come with any sort of civic involvement. I hope that wasn't Woody Allen,
like because it's so true. I just hate to think.
Yeah, it is true, but it is, and it doesn't matter where it came from. But just as a clarification, as someone who is involved with the Tea Party, I am. Very, very few of the people who were elected of that 20 were Tea Party attendees. So it was a group of generally younger, certainly younger than the old guard people. But
I believe that Ron Paul inspired people to get involved, and unlike previous years when they were just trying to control the nomination for president, these Ron Paul supporters want to get involved and make partisan politics work. So they are in favor of things like personal liberty and limited government. And I'm going to assume that so is Bob Skolnick in favor of things like that.
Well, the only thing that's mentioned in the article, it says, it's, quote, this is, again, Bob Skolnick again, it's pretty much taken over by the Tea Party Ron Paul types and libertarians. I'm more of a moderate Ronald Reagan type Republican. I do not believe they represent the mainstream Republican thought. Can you imagine, perhaps you've spoken with Bob, or you certainly communicated with him over time, is there anything in particular that this group advocates that Ronald Reagan would not have advocated?
I'm just amused by the concept that Ronald Reagan is now considered a moderate, middle-of-the-road Republican, because I remember when he ran for president, people thought he was a maniac, at least the liberal press did. I supported Barry Goldwater when I was just a young GI. I sent him $5 from my base in Germany to help his candidacy. And I've always supported Mr. Reagan. I don't think there's anything that this group does that would not be supported by Mr. Reagan. I think that there's a lot of things that the Republican Party politicians have done that would not be supported by Mr. Reagan.
Well, let me, Sean, you're on the other side. You're a registered Democrat, an elected Democrat. What do you see? You're on, you hang with a different crowd. They'll make their comments, just like, our crowd makes comments about Democrats.
So
what are they saying? What are you believing?
Well, I'm an observer in this whole process. Like you said, I'm a member of the Democratic Party, not the Republican Party. But I don't think it's helpful for either side just to simply root for the downfall of the other party, because we do have a two-party system, and without the other party, you just have one-party rule, and that's how things are done in some other countries, not in America. We need both parties to be vibrant, nimble, and responsive to the voters' desires and wishes. And so, to the degree that the Republican Party is changing and evolving to the direction that the voters are going, I think that can only be a good thing for the democracy.
Well, but we do have an insider, a very prominent insider, who said that this group, and let's just call it for argument's sake, the Tea Party Ron Paul, which I believe is a mischaracterization, but let's just use that for the argument. What about the Tea Party Ron Paul types? Do people on the left think is somehow out of mainstream America even?
Well, I think when you look at that, and if you use Ron Paul as the figurehead, which to a large degree they've rallied around, he has taken some positions that you might characterize on the very right fringe.
Sure, but give me a position, though. It can either. I mean, I could probably come up with some, but what do you think?
I think a lot of that falls under the economic category.
Okay, which is really what drives the Tea Party people, also.
Yep, I think another place he's been very outspoken is on foreign policy, and there you might see a lot more crossover with people who are on the more left wing of the Democratic Party, more of an anti-war, non-interventionist.
Yeah, I would think that particular well, I disagree with Ron Paul on that, but I think that nationally that most people said, should the United States be more engaged with money, men, and prestige internationally, or be less engaged? I think pretty overwhelmingly most people would say less. I don't know. Andy, what do you think about that?
I think most people would say less. When I teach at the community college, I am surprised to discover how libertarian, anti-government my students are. We're talking about Americans between the ages of, say, 18 and 30, and they are really much more libertarian than their parents. But they don't want us involved in foreign affairs. They think that we're too involved, and that's my position. But I want to tell you that if we're talking about the Muskegon County Republican Party,
let's get back to the
we're not going to address international affairs in the Muskegon County Republican Party.
You mean you're not going to create a militia to get involved, perhaps defending our border against Benton Harbor or Grand Rapids.
One of the things that I am doing and with the party, and is going to be different than we've done it before. In fact, I'm actually thinking about calling it the New Republican Party. But for example, on our meeting on January 14th, we're having a speaker from the Mackinac Center come and address the question of prevailing wage requirements in government contracts. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, prevailing wage requirements essentially require all contractors who work for the government on projects such as a $35 million jail to pay union wages for the workers. And the Mackinac Center is going to come and discuss this at the Republican Party's executive committee meeting. And the public is welcome to come listen. In fact, I hope they do come listen.
When is that meeting? When is that meeting?
The meeting is at 6 o'clock, and it's held in room 1202 at Muskegon Community College. Thank you, Sean. And it's open to the public. We're going to discuss the prevailing wage issue.
And anybody who's interested in attending these meetings can, too. Whether we're having a discussion about prevailing wage or anything else, the Republican Party is always, well, clearly open to new blood, which is apparently disconcerting to some.
I believe the Democrat meetings are also open, are they not, Sean?
Oh, yeah.
I send my students out as one of the requirements in my American government classes. They have to go to some sort of political activity. It can be a grassroots organization like the Tea Party, and some of them go. Or it could be a political party like the Republican Party, the Democrat Party, and Democratic Party. And I just want them to get involved. And they've always been received well by all organizations.
Oh, yeah. Both party meetings are by their nature open to the public. And in a county of, what do we have, 170, 180,000 people or so, be great to see them both much more attended by the public.
Well, let's get back
to the political process.
Let's get back to this point, because you mentioned prevailing wage, and perhaps this is what has got Bob Skolnick concerned. Bob Skolnick, along with every other Muskegon County commissioner, Republican or Democrat, for the last 10 years, has voted for a policy that imposed the prevailing wage rule on county spending. Now, many counties in the state of Michigan have said this is ridiculous. Yes, there's prevailing wage. The Davis-Bacon bill forced upon the states for federal money, but for county money, and this is why it's a critical issue now, because Muskegon County is talking about spending $35+ million on a new jail. I've been told from people that prevailing wage can increase the cost of that jail by 10 to 40%. So Bob Skolnick, who tells us that he's a Reagan Republican, John Snyder, Marv Engel, and even Alan Jagger, but all of the 11 county commissioners for the last 10 years have voted every 2 years to impose prevailing wage on Muskegon County when spending Muskegon County money.
Jim, I went to the vote in October on the policy. What is it? The purchasing policy.
Yeah.
And they did not vote on the entire policy. They just voted on an amendment.
No, they vote every 2 years on a policy, which they will do coming this Thursday.
As a renewal.
Okay.
Yeah. So they do that every 2 years.
So Alan Jagger voted for it 2 years ago?
I believe he did. But again, Alan was a brand new county commissioner, and if you attend this meeting, which I really do encourage folks to do, you'll see they're voting on all sorts of stuff that they've never even looked at. They push a whole big bucket of things to vote on, and one of them is policies and procedures, which is I don't know, maybe 10 pages, and they clearly most folks aren't aware of it. But that's something that I would think that Ronald Reagan would be against.
I agree.
I would think that certainly most of the people in the Republican Party, the Tea Party, and any Ron Paul types would be against forcing that on the county. And clearly, it's something. It's a sop to the unions and their union supporters on the Democrat side. What's shocking to me, though, is that the Republicans on the in Muskegon County would have voted for that. And let's be clear: Bob Skolnick, John Snyder, Marv Engel, who've been there for the last 10 years, have voted for this every single time. So perhaps this item, which is clearly out of the mainstream Republicans. Which has been voted upon by these mainstream Republicans in our county, maybe there's something we ought to address. And I'm glad you're bringing a speaker in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and we plan to bring in more speakers. I think perhaps in February we'll discuss the jail at our meeting. I plan to bring in speakers very frequently, trying to make our meetings exciting enough that people will want to show up.
Now, that ought to be an interesting topic. That's a conversation this community very much needs to have.
Yes.
What are we going to do about this jail issue?
Well,
But I want to get back to your comments about Mr. Skolnick. Bob is a strong Republican, a good Republican supporter, and a community activist in his own right, and a charitable man. But there's a difference between what the party is to a politician and what the party is to the public, and you should never distinguish the two. To a politician, the party's job is to get him elected. To the members of the public, the party's job is to elect the right people. And those aren't necessarily the same things. Our objective, at least my objective as a Republican Party chairman, is not to make the Republican Party successful. That's just a vehicle to get better government that leans towards limited government and personal responsibility.
Well, I'm still trying to find out. Perhaps we've got one item, and this is the prevailing wage. It seems kind of a minor, wonky kind of an item, but this is clearly something that Bob Skolnick is for. And I'm still trying to find out, and Bob isn't here, so I don't want to be focusing on him, but I'm sure he shares a view of many that this Republican Party has been taken over. But prevailing wage is something that is clearly a Democrat issue, and Republicans have been voting for it nonstop. Are there any other issues, though? And Sean, I'll ask you on this because I'm trying to push, are there issues that you suspect or have seen that our county party would advocate, or county Tea Party or county Ron Paul folks that would advocate, that are out of the mainstream of any thought? Let's forget for the moment just Republican thought.
Well, what I find the most interesting and perhaps the most potential for change is the whole spectrum of social issues. And I say that because looking at this most recent election, you saw some of those, and it got characterized as the war on women, to some degree, but also
successfully by the left.
Yeah, but also some gay rights issues, which is very much a changing public opinion on that issue. And I see a pattern, at least nationwide, almost of the Republican Party kind of painting themselves into a demographic corner on some of these issues when public opinion is trending in the other direction. So I'm wondering about some of the social issues, and would that be abortion, gay rights, and some race issues, where the local Republican Party is going to stake out a position.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Sean. I don't think that the Tea Party movement addresses these social issues much. Because their focus has been financial issues and the Constitution. And then now the Ron Paul, the Liberty people address also things like freedom, and the Tea Party, as people there's a lot of overlap, but I think the emphasis on the Tea Party thing has been the finances and the Constitution.
Yeah, so the elected officials, once they get in, they're still introducing these bills based on those issues.
But I am and the people that I've talked to who are still on the executive committee with me, and certainly my officers, we do not address those social issues like abortion. My feeling is, if a candidate wants to address them, he can, but I hope the party doesn't make that an issue.
Would a pro-choice Republican ever survive a primary?
Oh, my golly. Bob Skolnick is a very open and honest pro-choice Republican. As a matter of fact, I would suspect. Again, though, what Andy said, it clearly is not an issue locally. We don't take stands on that. We don't even have that discussion. I couldn't tell you what the choice opinions are by anyone other than Bob, who had made it clear in a couple of occasions. But there have been votes, for instance, to give I would call it a sweetheart deal to Planned Parenthood for county, to lease county building, or at least some offices, and that passed 11 to 0. So if that's an issue, it's certainly one that's not been contested in any way.
But one thing, Sean, that you must remember, excuse me, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party in the local level doesn't have much say, because candidates are nominated in primaries, which are controlled by the state, not by the parties.
Anybody can step in, and if you got the votes,
so
you got the votes.
You can have the Republican County Executive Committee or County Committee be hands off on the social issues, or even be pro-life or pro-choice on the abortion, and that doesn't mean a candidate can get elected because that's not the party organization. Right. So the group that I'm chairman of can ignore those issues or not speak on those issues, and the party can still nominate pro-life candidates.
And we've seen a lot of that going back and forth. Our current county drain commissioner initially ran as a Republican and was elected as a Democrat. And there's been flipping back and forth there. I'd like to mention one thing, and when it comes to gay marriage, because I think people are not likely, I don't really see the Republican Party or the Democrat Party swapping on the abortion issue. And the war on women is so amorphous that it's a little different situation. But the gay rights issue, and in particular, not so much gay rights, but gay marriage, is one that I think the Republicans are unfairly demonized. The President of the United States, Barack Hussein Obama, up until earlier this year, was clearly, and very precisely on record with being against gay marriage, and in very vocal and open support that marriage was between a man and a woman. But even in that bastion of conservatism, the most conservative state in the country, California, or am I wrong? Maybe they're not the most conservative state in the country.
You mean liberal?
Talking about
liberals?
I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
California twice has had statewide referendums to make to change their law from marriage being between a man and a woman, and to also include gays. And in 2000, overwhelmingly failed, and in 2008, it overwhelmingly failed.
Well, it's not just California. Every time that's been on the ballot historically.
Yeah, but I'm using California.
Until this year.
It always failed until this year. Now it started passing in a couple of states. And whether that trend continues in the future, I suspect it's going to just continue to get stronger.
I believe in Michigan there were only 2 political subdivisions that voted against the marriages between a man and a woman constitutional amendment that we had about 5 years ago.
What do you mean 2 political subdivisions?
I mean East Grand Rapids and
maybe Ann Arbor.
No, the one down Douglas and the
Saugatuck
Douglas area.
Oh, okay. Well, again, I'm not advocating one or the other. What I'm suggesting is, though, that those people who say that believing that marriage is between a man and a woman is some type of out of whack, wild-eyed Tea Party church crazy person view, that's just not true. It's in fact certainly a view that is embraced by, at least up until recently, embraced by the President of the United States, the Democrat leader, and a vast majority of the people in the United States, and even a vast majority of the people in California. So I'd like to maybe switch it over just to one comment here, and this is why I wanted Andy here, and we got a break coming up shortly. But Roger Simon, who's a columnist, and he made this one little comment. It says, the GOP's public relations debacle. And, quote, it says, what is the cause of this debacle? Largely this. Republicans, conservatives, the whole list above, do not know how to talk to the broad spectrum of the American people outside the choir. Republicans are not just bad at public relations, they're disastrous at it. And as we just see now with this carnage here in our own Muskegon County, where you've got a chairman of our party comfortably saying, I think the new bunch is a bunch of loonies. Something's...
Well, Bob did not say that.
Well, if he says that you're out of the mainstream of Republican thought, what are you then? Just horribly misguided. But anyway, so we've got a problem with getting our message out, and right now we are being defined by a past county chairman, and we're trying to redefine that. We'll come back after the break and get our redefinitions going.
You can listen to the big game in Cincinnati. Get your morning laughs with that crazy morning show in Dallas. Check out your favorite sports talk host in New York. Or listen to the latest breaking news as it's happening from the city it's happening in. You can do it with iHeartRadio. Only iHeartRadio lets you listen to 1,500 live radio stations from across the country with the touch of a finger, or create your own station. And best of all, it's free. And free is always good. Download the app now at iHeartRadio.com. iHeartRadio is now preloaded on all of the newest Hewlett-Packard PCs with Windows 8.
'Tis the season of giving, but for identity thieves, it's the season of stealing. Stealing identities and taking over bank accounts. Each time you share your personal and financial information to buy a gift or buy gas or food or shop online, you may be exposing yourself and even your bank accounts to identity thieves. The smartest thing you can do this holiday season is to arm yourself with LifeLock Ultimate. LifeLock Ultimate guards your identity and good name from identity thieves. LifeLock Ultimate is the only identity theft protection service that helps protect you from bank account takeover fraud. Look, no one can stop all identity theft. It's a global crime, a crime you simply can't fight alone. So protect yourself over the holidays with LifeLock Ultimate.
Call and mention Shop Safe for 60 days risk-free. If you're not happy, call LifeLock within 60 days of enrollment and you won't pay a cent. See LifeLock.com for details. Call 1-800-995-7932. 1-800-995-7932. 1-800-995-7932. Network does not cover all transactions and scope may vary.
Have you ever dreamed of working for yourself? Owning your own business and having the freedom to work when you want? We're the marketing arm of a $3 billion energy company, immediately looking to find a few entrepreneurs or business owners who can recognize a great opportunity. Rarely are there offerings like this to make a minimal investment with the ability to create significant earnings and wealth. Learn more about becoming a part of our team at ejobswestmichigan.com. We provide the training and support to help you succeed. What are you waiting for? ejobswestmichigan.com.
When you were 5, you took a test to determine your level of ability. And with a big smile, you entered kindergarten. At 16, you took a driver's test. Then you hit the road running and life was never the same. When you were 28, you got married and bought a house. Even though it wasn't a test, it felt like one. At 30, you had a blood test. A year later, your son was born. Then, at 40, you died of lung cancer. Because the one simple test you didn't take was the radon test in your home. The fact is, most people don't. That's why radon, a toxic gas produced naturally in the soil, is the second leading cause of lung cancer. Today, nearly 1 in 8 homes in Michigan have elevated radon levels. Call today for information on testing your home. 1-800-RADON-GAS. That's 1-800-723-6642. You might just change the course of your life. A message from the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality and the Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
News Talk 1090 is the talk of Muskegon.
Well, you dadgum government, you sorry so-and-sos. You got your damn hams in every pocket of my clothes. Well,
every pocket of my clothes, folks. Actually, most people's pockets are left alone by the federal government anyway. It's just the that top half that pay federal income taxes. And if you look at the real numbers, the top 5%, those nasty folks who make on average about $155,000 a year in 2009 numbers, they pay about 60% of all the taxes. So their pockets are definitely going to get fleeced.
I believe that you should remember, though, that the Social Security tax is paid on the first dollar of the worker, no matter how much money he makes.
Well, that's true, but
that's take a pretty big bite out of a small paycheck.
Well, there's little question about it, but it's specifically pegged to get Social Security insurance. It is specifically pegged for a purpose. Now,
well,
it has been reduced.
That's not what it is. What it is it's a tax on the working people to pay for my retirement. And I make a point to thank my students for that each semester that I teach.
Well, I would agree with you there, and but I don't want to get into that. But you know what? I want to come back to this our local party here because of what the local party does stand for. But I'd like to just recount something. Honey Bunch and I went out this past week, and we saw just a great musical movie, Les Miserables. And we had seen the play multiple times before, and the movie was shockingly great. I've
heard good reviews.
Yeah, I could even say in some ways it was even better than seeing the play in person, and I recommend it to everyone. But it was about one of the French revolutions. The initial French Revolution was in the late 1700s. This was about 1730, I believe.
1830.
1830, and there was a scene where the heroes of the movie had set up barricades, and they had the support of the people, and they were trying to overturn yet another monarchy after the French Revolution collapsed. It brought back another, essentially an emperor, and these folks were rebelling against that tyranny. And the next morning, when they woke up, most of the people had left. They had not had the support, and that rebellion was quickly quashed. And France went through the 1800s having revolutions internally and being invaded by the Germans and having a pretty awful century, soon to be followed by a pretty awful first half of the 19th century or the 20th century. But I would say that we were talking about the Republican Party having their meetings and the Democrat Party having their open meetings, and we have the Tea Party here in Muskegon County. We need support to change the direction of our county. We need the people to get involved. If you think that the direction of Muskegon County is fine, then don't go to meetings. Don't go to county meetings. If you think that the direction of the city of Muskegon or city of Norton Shores, or I understand now the leaders up there in Montague have decided there was an open seat because someone had resigned on the Montague City Council, and the council members had decided not to appoint somebody because, according to the article on M Live, because there were too many qualified people. So they will now have an even number and go over an entire year without that seat on.
I believe
unfilled.
they're now reconsidering that position.
And now they are reconsidering that position because apparently the city supervisor said, "Hey, it's illegal to do what you did." But you have that kind of mentality that is not necessarily providing grand leadership. So just like those brave patriots in the movie and the play Les Miserables and the Victor Hugo book, and in reality in France back in the 1800s, we here in Muskegon County will get the government we deserve. And in particular, if we sit home, if you think the schools are educating and efficiently teaching your children, then sit home, because the people who are going to those meetings, the city meetings, the school board meetings, the county meetings, those people are there every meeting.
I'm not sure how much we want to use the French Revolution as a model to follow. That was kind of chaotic and a lot of loss of life. I'm hoping that we can run our affairs in a more orderly fashion than that.
Well,
we are arming the Republican Executive Committee.
There we go. Well, I think there's a significant difference between the French Revolution. Well, there's many differences between the French Revolution and the American Revolution, and the biggest one was that the people stood with the American Revolution, and in fact, in France, they did what, sadly, the history of France has been for so long, is the people ran away, did not support the revolution, and the bad guys took over again and again and again. But we're talking here about the Republican Party, and again, there are people now saying that this is a wild-eyed group. Again, I'd like to find somebody say what they think is out of the mainstream. We know one thing where there's a disagreement with prevailing wage, which clearly is a mainstream Republican item that our Republican electeds here have chosen to ignore. Are there any other items? Again, let's talk locally here now. The Republican Party for years has had absolutely no problem in the tremendous expansion at the county level of the payroll. And 10 years ago, when the current Republicans were elected, the county's underfunding of its pension and health care fund wasn't an underfunding. It was a surplus of about $3 million. Today, it's underfunded to the tune of about $110 million. Now, we know that the Republicans and the Democrats alike have all voted for this. What is this new group against? Should we have a $250 million underfunding in 10 years from now? Would that make those people who criticize the Republicans happy?
I think that do you remember when you were in high school and your girlfriend was angry with you, but she wouldn't tell you why? Because if you were too dumb to know why she was mad at you, then they weren't worth talking to.
I don't have to remember back to high school to have that vivid imagery.
All right, but you're braver than I am. Anyway, that's how I feel about those who criticize the Tea Party. If you ask them why they're criticizing the Tea Party, they give you well, if you don't know that, then you don't understand what's going on, Andy. But I have an answer for those people, those Republicans out there that are concerned that the county executive committee is not mainstream Republican. We are going to appoint a county committee.
Now, the county Republican Executive Committee.
Yes, the county Republican Executive Committee. The county Republican Executive Committee is going to expand into a county committee with a lot more members, and probably, unless we have a crowd of people, anybody who wants to be on the county committee and be involved in the management of the Republican county organization, they can join the Republican County Committee. Come to our meeting on January 14th and sign up, and you will probably, in all probability, be appointed to the Republican County Committee. And Mr. Skolnick can send all of his mainstream Republicans out to do that if he wishes.
Well, he is, by virtue of running for a countywide office, he is on that executive committee, and hopefully he will provide his sage advice as time goes on. I'd like to go back to this Roger Simon quote where he just talks about Republicans are not just bad at public relations, they're disastrous at it. And I think that many of the issues that are important to fiscal conservatives or freedom conservatives, again, the social issues, let those folks fight that out. I don't see that as an issue for us. But on the freedom side, things like prevailing wage, things like having an open and honest discussion about union contracts before they are signed, about making a firm attempt to reduce this horrific underfunding. Basically, we are putting off to the future for the monies we're giving to employees today and promises for health care. Clearly, we know what the numbers are, and clearly we've decided not to charge for it. The situation with the jail, you said it'd be an interesting discussion. Well, the simple facts are, and we've talked about this before, but Ottawa County has, these numbers are a few months old, so it may have changed, but Ottawa County has $23 million worth of bonded debt. Muskegon County is about $156 million worth of bonded debt, and we want to add another $30-some million of bonded debt in building a jail. How is that going to make Muskegon County more attractive to do the one thing that the county does occasionally talk about, which is making it attractive for employers to come in that will ultimately pay taxes and employ people and things of that sort?
Well, I don't think it will. I don't
of course
think that's the, I mean, the purpose of building the jail from every justification I've heard is to get a facility that is up to standard and not going to get us sued for having negligent facilities.
That's the argument.
They've also talked about increasing the capacity and to keep up with, I guess, perhaps population growth, but I'm not sure our population has been growing significantly over the past 20, 30 years. But it's certainly not being sold as an economic development tool. Hey, come move here because we have a cool jail.
Well, this is clearly, well, it's not the jail itself. We need a jail by statute. That's the only thing that the sheriff's department really has to provide is a place to put prisoners in as they wait for, or as they're penalized for 1 year and under. But again, what do the Republicans stand for? And I will just say this from the Tea Party side of it, because I've been active and involved in the Tea Party. We would like to have open conversation about spending. I mean, time and again, and again, this is from the wacko right wing. We would like, if there's going to be a union contract, which accounts for approximately 70 to 80% of all of county spending, that contract ought to be made available, as it is to the union members, for them to ratify. It ought to be made available to the citizens of Muskegon County and have an open discussion to decide if that's the contract that we want to have our county commissioners approve. What the past practice, again, Republicans and Democrats working together, little difference between the Democrats, has been to push these things through without any public vetting. Same thing with policies that we have, and these are the wacky policies that the Tea Party wants to have. When we spend money, like the $1 million that we spent to rehab 8 houses 2 years ago, that when we spend money like that, that there ought to be some type of policy in place and publicly in place to review that spending to see if, in fact, it was spent intelligently. Clearly, 2 years after the money was approved, they had a big opening with the food and everything else just a couple weeks ago to showcase the 3 houses that were finally rehabbed. Remember, $1 million to rehab 8. They took these are rehabs now in a city that clearly isn't short on housing. And 2 years later, they had 3 houses available. There is no policy in place. And I will tell you, as I have been in front of the county commission many, many times before, I've said, what is your policy? And, of course, the response is, are there any other questions? So there is no policy in place. I've asked county commissioners, by the way. That's one of the out-of-the-mainstream concepts coming from the Tea Party. And I'll give you another one which is very simple, and frankly, this is, to me, frightening because it suggests either an ignorance or some type of plot. But I did ask at a recent county commission meeting when they had their bond attorneys and their bond advisors when they were talking about the new jail. I don't want to get into too much detail here, but there are 2 ways that you can issue a bond. You can issue a revenue bond, in other words, a bond that has income, or you can issue a general obligation bond. And a general obligation bond, the money to pay back that bond comes either from the county coffers, which is apparently the way that the county is planning on issuing raising this money, or it can come from a voter millage. And in other words, the county commissioners have said, hey, we think, as you say, the new jail is necessary. Here are our reasons, and convince us, inform us, educate us, and then have a vote. And if the people then vote for it, then it becomes almost a revenue bond because, in fact, the people have said, hey, we don't mind paying more taxes for this item. And I asked a simple question. I said, will the interest rate that the county has to pay to raise this $30 million be any different if there's a millage that approves it or if we just issue the bonds? It was clear that there wasn't a single, well, at least there was no, I know the answer that I saw on the faces of any of the county commissioners. The people who know the answer were sitting right there. They had been answering questions earlier. That question had not been asked.
Yeah.
And the response that I got from that was, are there any other questions? So what we have is apparently folks who not only didn't ask the questions, don't know the answers, are offended by those questions being asked. That's out of the mainstream of Republican thought. And yes, I'm very proud that people on the right, people from the Tea Party, certainly people, the people who supported Ron Paul, because they are frightened. These tend to be younger people who are looking at, not just nationally, but looking at what's going on at our local levels, and it's happening in Norton Shores and the city of Muskegon and other cities. Not so much in the townships, interestingly, but they are frightened, and we're not getting any responses. And elected officials certainly seem to find that offensive enough so that they've imposed rules, their own rules, that say we don't have to answer any of your questions in public.
Well, I want to get back to your statement that Republicans don't know how to express themselves publicly or whatever that.
Well, it's not my statement, but it's a statement
Mr. Simon's statement.
Yeah, I would agree with.
We had 2 senators nominated in contested primaries who made stupid responses to questions.
Oh, you mean nationally?
The U.S.
Nationally,
Senate.
yeah. That is not the National Republican Party. That's 2 candidates. They are Republican candidates, but that's not the National Party. And I don't think that the Republicans, I think occasionally you nominate somebody who doesn't prepare for a question well, but I don't think that represents the Republican ability to speak on issues.
Well, I think that problem magnifies as you get down to the local level because, well, Jim, for example, you do a very good job of trying to delineate what are our local or county issues versus the national party. I don't think that that's as clear in the minds of most voters. I think they watch the news and they see a brand, whichever party, they see issues on the national level, the local level. They say, well, the party has the same name. It's one party, and they will judge everybody with the same brush. Well,
I agree with you 100%, and I love the fact that you bring up the term brand, and I would suggest that if you know someone who you had experience with and you respect, let's say that's a smart person, and that person says something stupid, you're fairly likely to just dismiss it. Oh, he just misspoke, or he had a brain click.
Mm-hmm.
But if, in fact, because you have other reasons to have respect for that person, or in this case, political party. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Andy brings up the gas by these two senators. Now, in context, frankly, neither one of them were outrageous, but they were stupid, and in a time when the media is the way it is, they were supremely dumb, and of course, both of those candidates paid the price. But that was in the vacuum of, as you just said, Sean, of the Republican Party actually having any kind of a brand. And I would strongly suggest that one of the reasons that many of our folks have lost, Romney and many others, is that they have not embraced the brand. Clearly.
I think they've also not denounced when somebody says something stupid. When you have an Aiken or somebody out there that says something obnoxious.
Everybody denounced both those guys. Everybody did. And how'd that work out for them? But let me just make my point here, because we're talking about the fiscal cliff right now. All right. And now the Republicans have moved to the point where they're saying, okay, we're in agreement that we will increase taxes, or at least by taking away deductions, increase the amount of taxes that are paid. We have clear numbers. The rich should not be demonized. Somebody ought to stand up and say, wait a minute. We're not against the rich people. As a matter of fact, statistically, clearly, when you have the top 10% paying 70% of federal income taxes, and even if you want to throw in, Andy, the FICA and Medicare numbers, that's not payroll tax, by the way. These are FICA and Medicare taxes. Even then, the rich are paying far more than is fair. And to suggest that they're not even paying their fair share now, they have lost control of this, because what will happen, and this has happened time and again. It's just happening in France right now, where Mr. Depardieu had decided to leave the country. If you give in, and if you can't articulate what you stand for, and I would say that the Republican Party, certainly in Muskegon County over the last, for most of the last 10 years, has suffered from the exact same of lack of brand, because in fact all of our elected officials have voted with the Democrats almost 100% of the time on any kind of a spending item. And this is what I'm hoping that we're going to see in this new group we'll see with the local party.
I believe that you will hear from the local party on issues such as what you have raised this morning. And if you have any issue you would like to have the local party talk about, whether it's you, Jim, as a member of the executive committee, or anybody else on the executive committee, or any other Republican out there, if you have an issue you think we ought to address because it can be productive to address it and discuss it and expose it, bring it up. We'll probably discuss it.
Is there a way? Have you guys got a website, a blog, email addresses? How do we communicate with the Republican Party? We forgot where the meeting's going to be. How do we get in touch on the web, or a phone number?
You can call me, Andy Fink, 231-893-5323. And if a woman answers, just ask for me.
Okay. Well, we're going to hopefully we will get more information, because I know that there is a website out there, and we'll put that on Muskegon Pundit and on EyeOnMuskegon.com.
We are reorganizing right now. We have a man in charge of bringing the website up to snuff, but remember, he's only been in charge for 2 weeks, or a little over 3 weeks now, and so it's not done yet.
All right. Sounds good. We got to take a break. We will be right back for more incisive commentary from the #1 radio political talk radio show in all of West Michigan. Eye on Muskegon.
The Talkin' Muskegon program can now be heard live every morning, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. here on News Talk 1090. This is John Van White.
And Brian Worsham. We will focus on community events, news, weather, and sports. We'll also bring you traffic updates, weekly segments like the movies with Ron Van Timmeren, the Biker Report, and Lumberjacks. This is Talkin' Muskegon right here, 8 to 9 a.m. on the Talk of Muskegon, News Talk 1090.
Hey, I'm Miles Austin, and I made the switch.
It's your boy 50 Cent.
Hi, it's Joan Rivers.
Paulie D here.
And this is Wes Welker, and I made the switch too, to a better source of energy. We're always under pressure to perform.
That's when I need a boost to be my best.
Instead of those chemical-filled sports drinks, I drink SK energy shots.
They're made with antioxidants and vitamins.
No jitters, no crash.
Just a smooth rush of energy that tastes great.
So we always feel on top of our game.
Yeah, buddy.
New SK energy shots make the switch to a better source of energy. Available at GNC, CVS, and your local retailers.
The final week of Benton Chevrolet Cadillac GMC's model year-end clearance sale is here. GM has authorized Benton to mark down prices even lower for the final days of 2012. Shop over 1,000 vehicles in Benton's massive 20-acre motor mall. Benton has authorized their staff to pay you even more for your trade for the final weeks of 2012. No matter the year, make, or model, we'll pay you more for it, guaranteed. Drive a new Chevy Silverado 4x4, just $198 a month. A 2013 Chevy Equinox, just $119 a month. Or a Chevy Malibu, pick your color, just $109 a month. Or drive a Chevy Cruze for only $89 a month. Get 0% on select models for up to 72 months and discounts up to $9,000. The time to buy is right now. Prices and payments have never been this low. We're out to break all sales records, and the winner is you with the biggest savings of the entire year. Stop in and see how much money your trade is worth and how low your payment will be. It's where Michigan shops. Benton Chevrolet Cadillac GMC, Henry Street, Muskegon.
Listen up, ladies. Right now, Bare Minerals is inviting you to participate in a special nationwide giveaway of the mineral makeup everyone's talking about. That's right, we're letting everyone who calls try America's #1 mineral makeup risk-free. Just call 1-800-605-9625 to find out how. This is an exclusive radio-only offer you don't want to miss. You've probably heard about Bare Minerals Foundation. It was quoted in Glamour magazine as a magic eraser. Allure magazine, InStyle, and Elle magazines, and leaders in beauty continue to rave about how Bare Minerals Foundation is naturally radiant and good for your skin. Now you can participate in our nationwide giveaway and see for yourself. Bare Minerals, makeup so pure you can sleep in it. Experience the foundation that started the makeup revolution. Participate in this special opportunity to try Bare Minerals Foundation risk-free. And we'll also send you a free gift set. Just call 1-800-605-9625 now. Hurry, you don't want to miss this exclusive radio offer. 1-800-605-9625.
Fox News Radio, I'm Karen McHugh. The fiscal cliff is getting really close now. Lawmakers from both sides meet this afternoon to see if an agreement is possible.
3 o'clock here in D.C., Senator Mitch McConnell and Senator Harry Reid, the principal negotiators from the Senate, are going to sit the senators from their parties down and tell them the numbers they've agreed should be in the deal. And if those meetings go well, they might be able to vote tomorrow in the Senate, tomorrow afternoon.
Fox's Peter Ducey in Washington. If no deal is reached, then in less than 2 days, spending cuts and tax hikes would automatically kick in. Protests in India continue following the gang rape and death of a young woman. Demonstrators are demanding stricter punishment for rapists. One protester says new laws aren't necessary.
I think it's not important that laws are amended. They need to be enforced in the right spirit.
The victim was attacked while riding a bus. There have been arrests. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Here's the official News Talk 1090 WKBZ forecast. Flurries and a few snow showers expected throughout the day with a high of 29 with winds out of the southwest at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Cloudy skies tonight with gusty winds out of the southwest at 20 to 30 and steady temperatures in the upper 20s. Tomorrow mostly cloudy, still windy with a few snow showers in the afternoon and a high of 34. West winds 20 to 30. And for Tuesday, snow showers at times and a high of only 24. News Talk 1090. The talk of Muskegon.
Well, you dadgum government, you sorry so-and-sos, you got your damn hams in there.
And here we are back, Jim Riley, your cuddly little laid-back host of the community conversation, EyeOnMuskegon. Hey, I want to sort of keep it, we've got just a few minutes remaining. I'd like to keep it on the Republican Party, but one of the bigger issues, and it's not just a national issue, and this is global warming, and it's clear that if I haven't heard what the media has said, but chances are they're out suggesting that an ice age is coming because of Republicans driving Lexuses because we have snow outside today. But we know the global warming issue is a big issue, and I'd like to just hit two points that I had just read about in the past week. The headline is, down to 50 degrees Celsius, Russians freeze to death as strongest in decades winter hits. And number two, solar power adds to non-users' cost. Booming rooftop solar installations in California are bringing an unwelcome surprise to the homes and businesses that don't have the devices. An extra $1.3 billion added to their annual bills. So the guarantee against this evil global warming that is freezing Russians and soon to bankrupt many Californians in terms of their various energy bills. Maybe we need to look at that again. Locally here in Muskegon County, again, all of the Republicans have joined all of the Democrats in absolute open support for the windmills and anything. Of course, they all voted to put the plug-ins for the electric cars at about $10,000 a piece, which are never, ever used. Again, none of these folks, certainly the Republicans, wouldn't do it with their own money. I can't believe the unions would do it. I wonder how many electric plug-in places are up by the union halls. Probably none. But as long as you're dealing with other people's money, you can easily do it. Hey, folks, don't forget Renegade River Show at noon. Really good show. It's sort of like my show, except maybe not quite as good, but it's a good one. Don't forget, we do post full audio of the show on EyeOnMuskegon.com Sunday afternoons. And we're back on TV. Oscar's getting better. Thanks again, Andy, Sean Mullally, Brian Thomas, all you wonderful listeners and others. And we will be back next week with Mark Molitor. And we're going to talk about cool stuff. So have a great week, folks.
Thank you.
Sometimes